John Fetterman has held a unique role in the Democratic Party, winning a pivotal Senate seat in the purple state of Pennsylvania in 2022, despite suffering a stroke that impacted his speech. The following year, he checked himself into Walter Reed Hospital for 6 weeks as he battled clinical depression. Now he's defined himself in a different way, an outspoken critic of his party, particularly its left flank. Now, moments after Charlie Kirk was shot and right before we learned he had died, I sat down with Fetterman to discuss the issues dividing his party as it charts its way forward.
I'm never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, you know, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
But when you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. Now, last night, for example, people were complaining. They were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler and those kinds of extreme things. And now look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, you know, the man was shot. Now we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
So you don't think that Trump is at all shattering any of the norms of democracy in any way?
I'm saying he's definitely different, but that's what America voted for. Again, I don't agree with many of these things, but that does not make him an autocrat.
But one of the things that I hear from Democrats a lot saying a reason why voters may not like Democrats is because they don't fight hard enough. Democrats should be fighting harder. What do you say to folks who say that?
What exactly is fighting? What is fighting? You know, delay more votes, or just vote every no on everything, or saying, well, if they're doing X, well, then that means it's wrong, that kind of a thing. It's like, what exactly is fighting?
I'll give you an example. It could be shutting the government down. Like some Democrats say, if this happens, it'll be Trump's fault.
That's not fighting. That's mutilating our nation. If you vote to shut our government down, you are going to harm millions of Americans. And why would you do this? Where's our leverage? It was wrong. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. Absolutely, that's true. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. It would just be wrong for us for those things.
Bigger picture, has your party shifted or have you shifted ideologically?
My party is acting in a way they have forgotten. They have forgotten one of the reasons why we lost in 2024. Some of the most extreme things were weaponized against that. And now some people think now we have to double down on those things, or we must become more progressive or more extreme. That's absolutely not true. The 7 or 8 states that are going to determine who's going to be the next president, you know, we have to win in those states. And I understand what that takes. And a lot of these ideas that are now putting back and being reintroduced are not going to carry, you know, Pennsylvania.
Speaking of which, you're talking about what's happening in New York. Zoran Mamdani, Democratic Socialist. He is the Democratic nominee. And polls do say that he is ahead by a significant margin in that race. I mean, is this where your party is headed, and is it a wake-up call to Democrats like yourself?
I don't believe that. New York City is not reflective of our national political things. Certainly the states are going to determine who's going to be the next president. So I don't take any kinds of lessons or anything from that election.
Trump is threatening to send the National Guard into a number of these blue cities, blue states. We're seeing Democratic mayors in Chicago and in Baltimore resist federal help, additional federal help. Is that a good idea to fight Trump on this?
No, what I'll say is, like, I experienced that, it's like I live in Navy Yard. I would walk to work, and I would see a lot of National Guard people. It honestly wasn't a big deal. They were friendly. They were standing around. And this wasn't like there were Russian army people. This was, it's our sons, our daughters, our fathers, our mothers kind of a thing. If you actually experience it on the ground, it's really not like it's not occupied city or anything. So for me, when I was a mayor, I was a small town mayor. I asked for help. I asked for help to confront gun violence and crime. If I was a mayor and I had a significant kinds of violence situation, I would be happy to get help. Honestly, for that.
Should they ask for help?
I've done that.
And do you think they should too? Like Chicago, Baltimore, and the like, they should accept it.
All I'm saying that it's like when 600 people are killed in Chicago every year, roughly, I think it's entirely appropriate.
Are you comfortable with the way these ICE raids have been carried out in some of these cities?
Not entirely, no. I believe we should have a secure border. And I absolutely believe you should round up all of the criminals. And then I do think you should deport those. But I don't think it's really helpful to raid a factory and round up all of them and deport them. I don't think it's appropriate to go to like a slaughterhouse in Nebraska and round them up and deport them things. That's not true either. I don't think America really supports those things. I think two things must be true: a secure border, round up all the criminals, but we don't and shouldn't target otherwise hardworking migrants that are just effectively making a significant contribution to our economy.
Mm-hmm. I wonder politically, you talk about what happened and Democrats may not have learned the lessons from the last election. Do you have any issues of crime?
Like the border, for example, the border, those kind of thing. We are living in the backlash of a lot of the things and the mistake that we have made as a party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's what I was going to ask you. Are crime and immigration, are you worried that there will be liabilities for Democrats in the midterms next year?
If you are willing to sink, like if 600 homicides a year are okay, or we don't need help. If I was mayor, I'd be like, absolutely, I'd be grateful for help. Just because if Trump is calling for something X, Y, and Z, then that doesn't mean you have to necessarily oppose that. I think I was the only Democrat that supported striking the Iranian nuclear facilities too. I mean, that was entirely appropriate. I think that was the right thing to do. And I really believe that too.
You think the party has not learned the lessons from last year? That's fair to say, right?
It hasn't been a year. It hasn't been a year yet right now. And that's what I'd like to remind people. It's like a lot of those things really cost our election now. I don't think there has been an effective evaluation. I don't have an exact answer, but I'm not going to just spit out things and pretend that I know that they're absolutely right.
One of the issues you found yourself on the opposite sides of your party is on the issue of Israel. Are you comfortable with the way that Netanyahu is waging this war in Gaza right now, including these strikes in Qatar?
I absolutely fully support continue to destroy Hamas for that. And now, of course, the situations in Gaza, it is difficult, but for some people, they choose to blame Israel for that. I blame Hamas, I blame Iran, and I blame that. So for me, that's what, and people aren't speaking the truth that Hamas could send the hostages home and disarm, and then that's the first opportunity that we can all move on, and the Palestinians could finally have an opportunity to live in peace, and they could start to rebuild their lives.
Were you okay with the strike that they just had in Doha against the Hamas leadership, the Israel? Were you okay with that?
Absolutely, it's appropriate. Unless Hamas is willing to surrender and send people home, that's a war, and it's a just war. There's no ethnic cleansing. It's not a genocide. This is a just war, and I don't know why people blame Hamas for those circumstances right now, that it's not Israel's
They
fault.
say that Israel is using starvation as a weapon. Are they?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Israel is not deliberately starving people. Absolutely. Those conditions are miserable there, and it is hell on earth. Why? Some people blame Israel for that. I blame Hamas and Iran for that thing.
fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.